welcome to everyone who is watching this. It's Wednesday again, so happy Wednesday. And so, of course, Alyssa and I are here to talk to you about workplace wellness and all things related to that. And today we're going to be talking about something that's really Alyssa's specialty, which is burnout. And I'm sure that many of us can relate to that sense of getting to that point of feeling burnt out. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Alyssa, and let you share your wisdom around it.
Thank you. And I know you also have a lot to
Oh
bring to
yes.
the table because we, as HSP, highly sensitive personality, we may be more prompted to experience burned out because we feel things differently. And there is nothing wrong with that. That was one of the things that I learned. That was one of the causes of my burned out and why I was burning out. Like, why I was going through burned out like so fast. Like, why would I not be able to manage my energy? And so that was a big lesson for me, learning the type of personality that I have and things that I must do in order to maintain my energy levels. But yes, burned out. We hear it a lot and we may use it sometimes like it's normal, and it's not. It's not. Burnout is more than stressed, actually. And we may feel some days that we are like, oh, just burned out. But it is a prolonged state of emotional, mental, physical exhaustion. And in order to be at that stage, you may have already been on a very high stress level for a long period of time. So there are signs, and these are the first signs are the ones that you experience with stress, just like feeling overwhelmed, like you're not able to disconnect, like you may have physical symptoms like indigestion, like having some brain fog or feeling irritable. Those are the first signs that if you're not able to regulate them, to really pay attention to that, then it will become chronic and then it will be more complicated. The earlier you notice and you manage this, the better you'll be able to attend the root causes, whatever it's going on. And it wouldn't take as much time. Now, if you don't pay attention, it's not like it's going to disappear. It will continue and it can get worse. So that's one of the things that I always like to say, that burned out, it's a again, it's the word that we give it. That burned out could be also, it could turn into depression, it can turn into chronic anxiety, it can turn into even immune diseases, and like weird, this type of weird diseases that we don't know where they come from, that attack our immune system. They are rooted in stress, especially when stress is chronic. So, unfortunately, there is a very high percentage of employees that suffer from burnout. 77%, according to a recent study from 2023, said that yes, 77% employees suffer from burnout in the workplace, and the main driver is lack of support and recognition from leadership. And I think it's kind of sad to know that, because it's something that I think we can easily change. It may sound like easily change. Can you really? I think there are so many things you can do as a leader. And I'm not saying you have to do everything, because I know leaders also have a lot on their plates and they may also be suffering from burned out. So I don't say that all the responsibilities on leaders. I think it has to be something that everybody has to manage together. But the first thing that I would encourage is a safe environment. If there is no safe environment at work where we cannot talk about what's happening, about our workload, about our responsibilities, about how we're feeling, if we're afraid to even talk about that, then that is really um, it's a sign where it's an easy recipe to promote burnout, unfortunately. And it's something that we really have to pay attention to. Yes.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's really interesting. And what you said about highly sensitive, being a highly sensitive person and how we tend to be more prone to that. One thing I've also become aware of is that highly sensitive people very often have a high tolerance level. So it's like you don't even recognize that you're heading in that direction until very often it's too late. That was true for me. By the
Mm,
time I don't think I didn't even recognize it. I went to see a doctor, a naturopath, for it was because I was having trouble sleeping. That was the main thing. Oh, and weight gain was the other thing. And so in his sort of tests and examination, he said, your adrenals are just completely overwhelmed. He said that it's completely depleted. And it wasn't until then, and I think that's when I really started making the connection and recognizing the symptoms, I suppose, that I ignored, the signs that I ignored. And I think that's often true for highly sensitive people, even though, there's this idea that as because we're sensitive, that's seen as a weakness. It's actually incredible strength. And the highly sensitive people I know have this ability to take on more and take on more and take on more and not necessarily notice what it's doing to them. And so I think it's important, for us all to not only to not wait until it's too late, but to start recognizing, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed, things are feeling about a bit too much. And so therefore it's not that I have to do more and try harder. Maybe it's that I need to take a look at what's going on and how I'm feeling. Um, and it takes some honesty with ourselves, I think, and a willingness to look at ourselves to do that.
yes, it does. And when you said the adrenal glands, I had a similar situation, and
Mm.
I was constantly tired. And I thought it was because I just had given birth to my first son. I didn't really sleep. And during my pregnancy, I also had a hard time sleeping. But on top of that, I was in a toxic work environment. So for me, it was, yeah, doctors, even my OBGYN didn't know. Like, he didn't pay attention when I complained about all the symptoms. He said, no, it's normal. It's part of your current situation. And then I happened to see a chiropractor that somebody recommended. I was going to a therapist, and she recommended this chiropractor. And the first thing he told me was that your adrenal glands are on overdrive.
Yeah.
And that was, or for me, that was like, finally, somebody understands what I'm going through. And it was like the first thing that somebody told me that made sense.
Yeah.
And that's when my journey started about learning to regulate my nervous system.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I find key as early intervention for high stress levels. Learning how to regulate your nervous system on a regular basis every day.
Mm.
Because if you're already having a hard time relaxing, that's already a sign that your nervous system is in overdrive. And it's like an addiction
Yes.
a way, because your brain has become accustomed to all these chemicals,
Yeah.
to the cortisol, to the adrenaline, right? And so it's like it wants more, 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 more. So that's why you have this rush of energy, but then you feel like so depleted, so tired, and there is
Yeah.
no time to recover. Like your body should do it every day, giving it time to recover. We're just intoxicated with so much cortisol and adrenaline again. That was like my first wake up call. Okay, Lisa, you have to work on this. This is serious, and this is something that you're not gonna accomplish with medication by itself. The
Right.
good thing is that I was doing natural medicine and things like that, but it takes time. It's not chemicals that just do this like immediately. And you want to give your body that permission to allow it to work with you, but you also have to change change a lot of bad habits. It's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle, and it always comes back to, I think, the thing I talk about all the time, which I think is the most important thing, and that is self-awareness. Because we think of self-awareness as, oh yes, I know who I am. I do this for a job. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. I'm a whatever. This is who I am. And maybe I'm an introvert. I'm a highly sensitive person, so I have self-awareness. But to have that level of self-awareness that recognizes, wait a minute, something's feeling off in my body. What's happening to my energy? My energy is depleted all the time. Therefore, I need to pay attention to something. This is very often when we get to that point. And I think society really tells us, that we should be able to cope with all of this. And so we just want to snap out of it. How do I snap out of this and just carry on and do more? Right. And that is not the answer. And so it's, if you are aware enough, when you develop deeper levels of self-awareness, you start to pick up on these signs and symptoms that something is off. And then if you're willing, you can look a bit deeper into that to see what's going on, because you don't have to wait until you get to that point of being completely burned out, because it really does take time to reverse that. It didn't happen overnight. I mean, it's something that you've done over a period of
Years,
time.
probably.
Yes, over years. And so, but we expect ourselves to bounce back from it, very quickly. So that's why the sooner you start to become aware of your energy levels, how your body is feeling, what your thoughts are thinking. Because if you're, every day you're dreading going into work, or you're dreading what you have to do, or, there's this sense of, I just can't do this anymore, but you think you've just got to pull yourself together and get on with it. Those are signs that your body is telling you, your mind is telling you something is off and you need to look at it.
Definitely, yes. Paying attention to those early signs. And again, it's sometimes hard, like you were saying, because we just want something fast to help us fix it. And there is no quick fix. If
Right.
you are told, yes, there is a quick fix for this, you have to do this and this.
Well,
It's
and
also
then,
a lifestyle. There are things you
yes,
can do, of course, but
yes,
it's not like doing it once and then it will fix it. And that was
no.
one of my beliefs. I thought I tried so many different things that it was overwhelming. I was overwhelmed with the amount of things that I tried because I wanted to just fix this. I didn't want to feel what I was feeling. It was so uncomfortable. But then I learned, okay, it's not working. I have to do something. And then I had to learn to be patient with myself, to understand where this was coming from. And it was a puzzle. Honestly, it
Mm.
was a puzzle. Every day I would get a piece here. Some days would be better than others. But little by little, I saw there was progress. I was making progress.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it starts with us, with our behavior, with being aware. Like you said, that's the first step, being aware,
Mm.
just noticing.
Well,
And
and I think sometimes we think, well, it's everything that's happening around me and I can't change that.
mm,
But you can change your level of participation. You can change how you respond. You can start to set boundaries, say no to certain things. Um, you have to learn to put yourself first, because who benefits from you being burned out, from being unable to do anything? Who benefits from that? Nobody benefits from that. So this is why putting yourself first is the absolute opposite of being selfish, right? You think you can't say no to anybody. You think you can't ease up in any way, but then what happens? You go to the doctor, you get sleeping pills because you can't sleep. Maybe you get antidepressants because you're feeling depressed, and you start becoming very medicated, maybe blood pressure medication. But what happens so often when people really start to take responsibility for themselves and learn how to manage their energy, how to recognize what's good for them, what isn't good for them, that's when they start to be able to come off those kinds of medications. You don't need them. We think we need something to get us through the day, right? And I remember a client years ago, this was when I was working with holistic nutrition, and she was so exhausted and burned out. She was the one who was taking care of everything, being the sole earner for her family. And I said to her, she had her own business. I said to her, you need to be, if you want to really truly get better and feel better, you have to make some lifestyle changes. I said, otherwise, you're just taking supplements or something to help you get through the day. And she said that's what I want, just something to help me get through the day. She wasn't ready yet to consider making life changes. But those things don't go away. It just builds and builds and builds until you can't do it anymore.
Yes.
So don't wait for that.
Yes, it's the body. The body tells you, and it's going to scream louder and louder if you don't pay attention. And we don't want it to be too late again.
Yes. And if you're so focused on everybody else and all the things you have to do, you don't hear that voice, or that, you don't pay attention to, that part of you that's telling you need to make some changes.
Definitely.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think we're out of time again. We are.
Yes, we are.
And you have some resources for people to help them sort of manage stress, or if they're approaching that point of feeling burned out. I know you have a meditation that helps people to connect with themselves. So just tell people how to get that.
I do. I actually have a new resource that I recently updated, and it's called 5 tools, strategies to help you prevent burnout and to reduce stress instantly. So yes, you can go to my website at www.flourish, the word flourish, FLOURISH coaching.com/free resources with an S at the end.
Excellent.
And you'll get it there.
Yes, we'll go and find that resource, and that would be a start for you to be able to get something that will truly help you. Thank you, Alyssa, for sharing your wisdom as always. And just to give you a heads up, next week we're going to be talking about what you do when you're working in a kind of toxic, dysfunctional work environment. This is something that's come up quite a few times lately, so we thought we'd address that because I've been there, and it's not fun. It's absolutely not fun. So let's talk about that next week. And if that applies to you, make sure that you tune in, watch us live, or catch the recording. Thank you very much, Alyssa, again for being here. And I look forward to our conversation next week.
Thank you. See you next week. Bye.
Okay, bye.